Hello, it's EJ back. Another video. So today, a little bit different. Gonna be a little bit different today. We are going to be ranking the best catchers going into the 2022 season, specifically the top 10. And so yeah, let's have some fun with this. Maybe people disagree. That's okay. I'm gonna provide a reason for everything. And yeah, it'll be pretty nerdy way of ranking them. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We'll be using a lot of the steamer projections for these catchers, as well as the stats for them for the past couple years. Generally, I'll go like 2020 to 2021, maybe for a few, I'll go 2019. But regardless, let's get into it. So at number 10, I do have the Jays young catcher, Alejandro Kirk. And what makes Alejandro Kirk so special is that he can really hit. In 2 years in the major leagues, he has a 113 weighted runs created plus, considering the average weighted runs created plus for catchers consistently around 90. That is terrific. That is well above average for a catcher, and especially for Kirk, him being just 22 years old, going to be 23 next year. He was projected to have a 125 weighted runs created plus for a catcher, which is crazy. And I think that senior projection might even be light on him overall, because it has him as a very poor defensive catcher, even though he improved a lot this past season. For example, his framing in this past season, which again, I understand if there's qualms about framing, you can go check out my Salvador Perez video. I go into why it's important there. And I might make an individual video about it, but point is, he had negative 0.9 framing last year, or in 2020, in 52 innings, and negative 0.6, 338. So he had less where he had a better value in much more innings, which is very good. He is improving. He's still young. I expect him to at least be passable defensively. So I honestly think that senior projection is a bit light on him. I think my ranking of him as 10th might even be a bit light on him. I think he's got potential to reach up to top 5 very quickly. So number 9 now, we have Mr. Max Stassi. So Max Stassi is a defensive catcher. He's always been a really good defensive catcher throughout his entire career. As you can see, his defensive values throughout his career have been terrific. A lot of that through framing and a little bit of blocking. There is a little bit of blocking into it too. But yeah, just overall throughout his career, he's been a really good defensive catcher. And over the past couple of years as well, he's actually started to hit. He used to be a terrible hitter. For the past 2 years, he has a 114 weighted runs created plus, around Alejandro Kirk's level for the last 2 years, actually. Is a little older than Kirk, obviously. But yeah, terrific defensive catcher. Has been proven to hit quite a bit in the past couple years. And honestly, again, 9 might be a little bit light for him. He could very easily be top 5. I do wonder how much of it is repeatable, considering that he hasn't really been a great hitter until the past 424 plate appearances from the past 2 years. But yeah, defensively, he's terrific at least. So even if he does fall off hitting, his floor is still going to be pretty solid. And yeah, he's solid. Again, concerning things, 31.7% strikeout rate is quite high. I don't expect him to hit as well. But again, defensively, he is terrific. So I expect him to at least be passable at the plate and be a terrific defensive catcher, hence him being top 10. Again, catcher's not a very strong position. You don't have to have a lot to be ranked in the top 10. But yeah, Max Stassi is a solid catcher. And at number 8, as well, Max Stassi is projected to have a 90 weighted runs created plus. Yeah, so like I said, probably going to decline offensively, but his defense is going to remain good. Yeah, number 8 is Salvador Perez. Salvador Perez is consistently the hardest catcher to rank, because there's just so many weird parts about him that is, it's very controversial to say the least, because his surface numbers are very flashy, but a lot of his other numbers aren't quite as good. Offensively, I think it's determined now. He's probably a really good offensive catcher. Last 2 years, weighted runs created plus is up to 134, which is a ridiculously high mark for a catcher. He's been one of the best offensive catchers in baseball the past couple of seasons, which is very important. Again, I do wonder how much this will be maintained. I don't think his plate discipline is good enough to maintain this good offensive production. And senior projected him to go down to a 113 weighted runs created plus, which, by the way, is still very good. He's projected to slug 504, which is still terrific for a catcher. So he's still going to be good offensively. The biggest problem with Salvador Perez, let me say this, I've said this before, I've said this in a video about him before, he's not a good defensive catcher. I mean, he just isn't. He hasn't been really that great since at least 2015. And the last time he was legitimately elite was in 2013. And yeah, so I don't know. He's a very good hitter, but I don't think he's as good of a hitter, and he's not a good defensive catcher. So again, just weird Biggest thing Salvador Perez is going for him, he's going to slug a lot, and he's not going to miss games. He is the most durable catcher in baseball. He plays the most games in baseball for any catcher. And so, yeah, he's still going to be good. He's still projected to have the 6th highest F4 among catchers in baseball next year. So, and by the way, I forgot to include this earlier on. I'm going to make it so that you have to have played in the major leagues to be ranked here. I'm not going to rank Adley Rutschman because I don't feel comfortable ranking someone who's never played in the majors before. He'd probably find his way into the top 10, to be honest, projected for next year, but I don't. It's too hard to kind of rank, so we're going to ignore him, but Adley Rutschman will be good. But anyway, I was just remembering because I saw Salvador Perez below him, but yeah. Perez can hit. Perez isn't as good of a hitter as he's shown, though, and he's not a good defensive catcher. He is going to play every day. So I think 8 is a fair enough spot for him, I think. But again, very, very hard to rank him. People are going to have very different opinions on him. All right, coming at number 7, maybe another controversial one is Mike Zunino. Mike Zunino last year had a terrific season. He was very good defensively. He was very good with the bat. Again, only hit 216, but batting average doesn't really matter when you're slugging 559 and have a 134 weighted runs created plus. I think the biggest problem with Zunino, and the thing that's dragging him down to 7th, because he could very easily be like top 3. Like, that's how good he was last year. He was a top 2 or 3 catcher in baseball last year. But the problem with him is he has not shown he can consistently hit. I mean, from 2018 to 2020, his weighted runs created plus was 68. Which isn't good. I mean, even for catcher standards, that's really bad. Again, he did slug 368 over that stretch, which for a 182 average, again, 186 ISO is good, but again, he did not hit at all until this year, and then this year suddenly at a 134 weighted runs created plus, slug 559, hit 33 homers in 109 games. Pretty insane. He's always been really good defensively, so he's always going to have that, even if he does decline. Next year, he's projected to have a 97 weighted runs created plus. I don't know. His variance is really high, which is why he's a little bit lower than maybe he could be. But again, 97 weighted runs created plus is still very good for a catcher. Is projected to be good defensively again. And yeah, he's probably good. But again, a little bit hard to judge him. But I do have him a little bit above Salvador Perez because I do think his defense and his offensive ceiling put him over Salvador Perez. But they're honestly really close to each other. You could justify Perez being over Zunino, but you could also justify Zunino being a lot higher. Number 6 is Jacob Stallings. Jacob Stallings is a defensive catcher. He is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. The past 2 years have been very good for him. A 3.6 F4 and 570 plate appearances. But I think the biggest thing with him is, yeah, he's just projected to continue to be really, really good defensively. He's a terrific pitch framer. He can hit enough. He's around an average hitter for a catcher, which isn't too bad. I just think his defense really, really, really lifts him up. He is projected to have a top, again, 10 F4 next year among catchers. His volume is pretty good. He doesn't miss many games, which is obviously a good thing. He takes a lot of walks. He doesn't strike out a lot. I do actually wonder, I think he could be even a little bit better of a hitter. I think he could take a small step forward. I think that's definitely a possibility for him. And he's always been just so good defensively. Yeah, I think Jacob Stallings is really, really good. I think 6 might be maybe a little bit too high looking back at it. But, I mean, honestly, everyone between, I would say, Max Stassi and Jacob Stallings are very close to each other. They could all be honestly interchangeable. You could have Stassi as high as 6. You could have Stallings as low as 9th. They're all very, very close to each other. But I think the next catcher is where you're starting to see a jump. I think these next 5 catchers are like definitively the top 5. And yeah, number 5, we do have Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver is arguably the best offensive catcher in baseball. I really do think you made that argument. I'm kind of throwing away his 2020 because he was hurt for a lot of it, and it was the COVID year. So, and he's just proven throughout his career he's just a much better hitter than that. 122 career weighted runs created plus for catchers, unbelievable. In 2019, he had 31 homers and 359 plate appearances. This year, again, injuries were there. But yeah, still overall the past 3 years, a 135 weighted runs created plus. He has 46 homers and 683 plate appearances, about a full season's worth of plate appearances, which is crazy. He takes a ton of walks. He's a solid enough defensive catcher. And yeah, he's just so good at hitting, that I really do think he's like clearly the top 5. I think he's clearly 5th. He can just really hit. He's better defensively than Perez. I think he's better with the bat than Perez. The only thing that maybe he doesn't have over Perez is the volume necessarily. But again, when he's on the field, he is like maybe the best hitting catcher in baseball. You can definitely have an argument for that. Yeah, just a terrific hitter, good enough defensively. Yeah, I think he's top 5. Again, he could be higher if he stayed on the field a little bit more. Number 4, Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy's an interesting one. Sean Murphy can really play defense. Again, past 2 years, 588 plate appearances, a little bit less than a full season's worth of plate appearances, 4.8 F4 and a 107 weighted runs created plus. That is terrific. Again, offense this year suffered a little bit, 99 weighted runs created plus, still slightly above average around for a catcher. He's projected to have a 104 next year, which is good enough. And just defensively, he's so good. He's Jacob Stallings, but better, basically, and younger. Yeah, he's really good. I think his offensive ceiling is higher too. As you can see, his xWOBA was 26 points higher than his WOBA, which is a good sign of him having more in the tank offensively. Again, he does take he takes a good amount of walks, and yeah, terrific defensively, can hit enough. He's going to be at least above average, and he's still young. So, yeah, he's definitely 4th for me. I think he's going to be very good. Steamer projects him to have the 4th highest F4 on catchers next year, which is very good. He also appears to be able to stay on the field, which is important. Number 3, this might be a little bit low for some people, but I am going to rank JT Realmuto number 3. And the reason why I'm ranking him number 3 is I'm not entirely sure how well his offense is going to hold up. It's already experienced a bit of a decline last year, like a slightly concerning one. But again, defensively, he is really good. He's not, I would say, top tier defensively, but he's very good. He stays on the field a lot. He does not get injured, which is a terrific thing for a catcher. And again, it's just going to easily put him top 3. He's been a staple at the top 3 for a long time. But I do think he was a little bit worse this last year. Again, his lowest F4 in a full season since 2017. Still 4.4, which is good. He is projected to have the 2nd highest F4 among catchers. But yeah, he's still very good, don't get me wrong. But he's projected for a 102 weighted runs created plus next year, which is, good. Again, still for a catcher, but not, I mean, that would be his lowest mark since 2015. So yeah, I am concerned a little bit about his offense declining a little bit as he enters his 30s. And another one of his bigger assets, base running, which he was very good at last year, actually the best mark of his career in terms of BSR, is going to decline as he ages naturally, as any aging player does, and particularly a catcher. And so yeah, projecting him into next year, I think I probably project him 3rd. If I were to go based off of volume, I think he still has an argument for 1st. But yeah, I do think he might decline a little bit. I'm not sure how good offensively he's going to be. Defensively, again, he's good, but he's very good, but I wouldn't say he's in like the top tier either. But still terrific, balanced catcher who stays on the field, can hit enough, plays good defense, is a great base runner amongst catchers, very good catcher. And again, the last 3 are very close to each other, I would say. Pretty interchangeable. Number 2, Will Smith. I think Will Smith is the best hitting catcher in baseball, 100%, and he's improved defensively a lot too. Last year was his first season where he was actually like very solid defensively over a full year. He played also 130 games, which is insane for a catcher. Takes a lot of walks, doesn't strike out a lot, hits for a lot of power at a 130 weighted runs created plus last year. In 2020 was 161. And yeah, his defense has improved significantly too. His framing mark is way up to 1.8. So he's now an above average framer. So yeah, Smith, he's an above average defensive catcher. He is the best offensive catcher in baseball, I think, for sure. And yeah, he's just really good. Again, he's young too. He's got so much offensive potential. Projected for 122 weighted runs created plus. I think that might be even a little bit light. I think he could be even better than that. But even so, yeah, projected for the 3rd highest F4 among catchers. But yeah, again, he's young. He has a terrific hitting profile, and I think he will hit a lot. And finally, before we rate the number 1 catcher in baseball, I think most people know who it is, probably. Say some honorable mentions. So we got Danny Jansen, Keibert Ruiz, and Jonah Heim. Danny Jansen, a very balanced catcher, solid defensively, solid offensively. Nothing too spectacular with him, but he's just solid, which is better than most catchers can say. So he just missed the top 10. Keibert Ruiz hasn't played much in the majors. I think it's like the one thing hindering me from putting him higher up and maybe even on the top 10, maybe even like midway up the top 10. I think his potential for next year is really, really good, but I'm not sure if there's enough of a sample to make a really good judgment there yet. And Jonah Heim's a really interesting one. So Jonah Heim cannot hit. I mean, we know this. He's not a good hitter at all. But defensively, he is one of the best in baseball, one of the best pitch framers in baseball. And if he can hit at all, I think he can easily break the top 10 and even like get to pretty close to the top 5. So yeah, but anyway, number 1 catcher in baseball. I think this is probably pretty obvious to most people at this point. Yasmani Grandal. Last year, he was tremendous at the plate. Just terrific. 159 weighted runs created plus, which is just bonkers for a catcher. He had 23 homers, only played 93 games, did have 23 homers, walked 23.2% of the time, which is insanity. He's projected for a 131 rated runs created plus next year, 4.5 F4. He's a terrific defensive catcher who, to be fair, is actually coming off his worst defensive season. For the first defensive season in his career, really, that he's been below average, which is very strange for him. But yeah, incredible hitter. Defensively, I think he's better than Will Smith. I think it's a big thing that's probably separating him and Will Smith. I know he had a down year last year, but he's still at large going to be terrific behind the plate, as well as being a very, very good hitter. He's well balanced. He's a terrific hitter. He's a terrific defensive catcher. He's like top, I would say 5 or 6 defensively among catchers, and I would say he's firmly second offensively. And yeah, projected for the highest F4 among catchers, and it's not actually that close. And he's been very durable throughout his career. This is actually the first year he missed significant time with injury, really. In a very long time, since like 2013. So yeah, I think he's the best catcher in baseball, and I don't actually think it's all that close. I mean, I do think Will Smith, him being young and having a lot of offensive potential, is a good thing and could push him past Grandal. But I think Grandal for right now is the best catcher in baseball. I think he's just the best overall. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow my Twitter and my Twitch, both links in the description as always. And yeah, guys, have a good one. Peace out.